In the very last part of the course, I want to talk a little bit about some of the emergent technologies that are helping us to visualize geospatial data. And I've done that through the topic of what I call geovisualization, which can actually mean a range of different things. Of course, we've already been visualizing geographic data in this course. We've been making maps. We've been using geographic information systems to do analysis. We've even built things like 3D models. So we've done a lot of geovisualization already. We haven't done a lot of charts and diagrams, but that's obviously a part of it as well. But there are some new things that are really on the horizon that are starting to be made more and more that have a lot of possible extension into other topics that I wanted to at least touch on a little bit. And in fact, one of the options for the final project would be to do a geovisualization project, very similar to one that I'm going to show you here in just a little bit. Some of the new forms of visualization include all the things that are located on the virtual reality spectrum, which I will briefly talk about, as well as 3D modeling, which includes some of the stuff that we've done before, but also the LiDAR that I've made reference to as well. And then something that I will briefly touch on in the next content lecture, which is geographic storytelling. So let me talk just a little bit about what I mean by virtual reality. Virtual reality can actually refer to a bunch of different things. It can refer to a totally artificially created world, which is a true virtual reality that you might find in, for example, a computer game. Or it could be an augmented reality where you're looking at the real world, but you're augmenting it with geospatial data. Or it could be sort of a combination of this where we have a world that is sort of virtual, but actually is based in the real world that becomes augmented with something. So there's a lot of different ways of doing this, or we could just be visualizing things three-dimensionally. And in fact, that's what you'll be doing in the project if you choose to do that one. You'll be creating through rendered Google Earth imagery a movie that uses fairly high definition 3D imagery and a 3D camera to help you to see an area with new eyes and make a film or a movie of that. A true virtual reality includes a world that's actually built artificially, and I've got an example of Beatrice McDonald Hall that I built that is a virtual reality that uses some of the same software that is actually used in the creation of VR for gaming. Augmented reality could include the sorts of things that you often have as an app on your phone. I have an app called Starwalk 2. I can go out in the night sky. I can point my phone at that part of the night sky, and the phone will augment my reality and show me where constellations are, where the track of celestial objects is, and what the names of stars and things like that is. And then there used to be a project called Tour Creator by Google, which is no longer available, but is one of the many ways that you can make augmented virtuality tours. I created a whole bunch of these back when this was available, where I used street view imagery, which is of course reality, but then augmented it with comments that I could then share with my students. The final type of geovisualization I just wanted to mention is something we've talked about already. You've already done some 3D modeling. I made reference back then to the idea of using LiDAR. LiDAR is this very high quality, what's called point cloud data that allows you not only to measure things like elevation and ecosystem height and things like that, but actually creates pictures that can be used to study an area and help to understand the area. And you can see that very clearly in this LiDAR point cloud that has been transformed into an image. I thought to close, I would just briefly show you a couple of things that I've made. Here's that Beatrice McDonald Hall model that I built, this VR model, and you can see that you can rotate it and look at it three-dimensionally. I'm not going to zoom in on it too closely because you'll see that there are actually a whole lot of errors in it if you get down into the mud with this. And then in the assignment, you'll be making a visualization using Google Earth Studio very similar to this. So let me run this so that you can see what these things will look like. This is of a geomorphological feature called a tombolo And this particular one is Mont Saint-Michel, which is located in northern France. So you get the idea there of how something like this can work. Here's another one that I produced that starts to break a little bit out of the just sort of plain visualization into more of the augmented virtuality. This is a little movie that shows the Oklutna Traverse, which is a glacial traverse in the Chugach, you can see with a blue line here. As I play this, though, you will see that I can actually move around. And this is produced using spherical imagery. So it actually can be placed in VR goggles, and you can experience this in more of a virtual reality setting. So these are all things that are relatively easy to put together. If I can figure it out, probably anybody can. But it just starts to give you a taste of all the many different things that can be done with the new technologies that are out there and the new different types of geospatial data we have as well.